and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Rashmita, and I am the event planner for Microsoft Reactor India. This session will run over the next 60 minutes, including Q&A. But before we begin, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat section will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. So please feel free to drop all your questions in the chat section. I would now like to welcome Arjun, our speaker for today's session. Arjun is a Microsoft 365 solution architect and a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional in Microsoft 365 development since 2022. Arjun helped clients transform their digital workplace using Microsoft 365 as the core platform with a focus on the Microsoft Teams and SharePoint. But for now, I will hand over to Arjun to begin the session. Let me bring him into the stream. There you go. Over to you, Arjun.
Thank you, Rashmita. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are attending this session from. Welcome to the session. I am Arjun Menon, and in this today's session, what we would are going to see is to how can you enhance the Copilot prompt, or rather, how you can use the prompts in your Microsoft 365 Copilot prompts. Now, before I start into the session, let me give a bit introduction about myself. Though Rashmita did cover about a huge deal of what I do and what I am, but still, again, I thought I'll just convey about myself. Nothing greater than talking about yourself, isn't it? Anyways, I am Arjun Menon. I'm a Microsoft MVP in Microsoft 365 development. I'm also a co-maintainer for CLI for Microsoft 365. That's a command line tool for managing your Microsoft 365 workloads, which is typically owned and managed by the Microsoft 365 Power Platform community, the PNP team. I'm also a team member of Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community. And on my day job, I work as a solution architect with TCS, Data Consultancy Services. So what you see in the screen are some of my social handles. Please feel free to connect with me on those any of these handles, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. All right. Now, what I see, or rather, I'm not. So, in this particular session, what we are going to see is that how we can leverage your existing prompts, or rather, how can you use the prompts to get the data from Microsoft 365 Copilot. Well, I'm not going into the Copilot, what Copilot is, what it is doing, and everything. All I do in this today's session is that, let's say, if you have a specific use case to be answered by the Copilot, how you can design your prompt, how you can ask the Copilot with what information you need to ask, and how the Copilot is going to respond back to you. Again, now what I'm going to show in this session is that there are multiple repositories, or rather samples available, which is created by the community, and how you can kind of use it, how you can go through that and can build your own prompts for that. So that is the whole idea of the today's session. Well, I'm not going to go into the detail what is Copilot, what is the whole architecture. I'm sure we all, at least some of us, knows about that. And those are detailed in the Microsoft 365 documentations. Let's take an example of, let's say I've got a particular use case, right? Well, I've got a meeting coming up in, let's say, another couple of days, and I want to prepare myself for that meeting. Now, it is at this point of time will Copilot will come into the picture, and using the right prompt, you will be able to Copilot will help you to familiarize yourself with the information which you need. Let's say you've got a meeting which is coming with client X, and I want to discuss about the phase 3 development of some of these projects. All right. And what you see in your right hand side is the prompt which is created. So what I will type it in the prompts is that you will type in, okay, generate 3 to 5 bullet points to prepare me for a meeting with client X to discuss their phase 3 brand campaign. Second section, what I do is that I have to inform the Copilot from where I have to fetch the information from. I have to focus on my email and Teams chat since June. Along with that, towards the end, what I also will give is that I will give an instruction into Copilot that, okay, what kind of informations are you expected to get? Okay, now this is a typical prompt which you tell the Copilot. Now, within the prompt itself, you can actually divide the prompts into multiple sections. Say, for example, in this particular phase itself, a prompt comprises of typically four components. There will be one goal, there will be one context, there will be one source, and there will be one expectations. Again, it is not necessary that you need to have all these components, but for you to get a proper information, but for you to get the informations what you are looking for, it is expected to put it in this way. Say, for example, when you talk about a goal is nothing but what it does is that it will tell the Copilot that, okay, what it has to do. So in this particular scenario, I'm just telling the Copilot, okay, give me 3 to 5 bullet points. Okay, now you told the Copilot, you give the instructions to the Copilot. Now you are telling the Copilot a context, what information you are expecting to. So you tell the Copilot that, okay, this 3 to 5 bullet points is needed to prepare me for a meeting with client X. Well, these are the items which is coming with the client X, and that is the context. So you told the Copilot what you're supposed to do. You told the Copilot what is the context as well. Now you're going to tell the Copilot what is the source of the informations which you have to focus on. Now here in this particular scenarios, I have to tell Copilot that, okay, I have to get the information from my emails and Teams chat since June. Say, for example, from June onwards, all the conversation Copilot has to go through and have to consolidate and give it back to them. So what we gave the Copilot goal, we gave the Copilot the context, and we gave the Copilot a source. All right. Along with that, I also tell the Copilot, okay, what kind of informations are you expecting to be given for? So let's say if you want the information in a table, or if you want the information in, let's say, a simple language, or if you want an information so that a 5-year-old can understand it, right? Well, understanding a client X details about 5-year-old, well, that seems a bit unrealistic. But again, what we can even ask that whether you get the information and whether the 5-year-old understand, that's a different story. But again, that's the whole gist of that. So what you're trying to tell is that we have the goal, we have the context, and we have the source, and we've got the expectations as well. The combination of all this is what you call as a prompt. Again, if you are seeing it for the very first time, it may look a bit overwhelming. Don't need to worry about that. What we are going to see is that we're going to see some of the samples which is already available in the repository. We're going to plug those samples into the existing Copilot system and see whether we're going to get the information or not. All right. So in this today's demo, what we're going to see is that we're going to pick up a couple of use cases specifically related to the meeting related use cases, and then we are going to see the existing samples which is already available. Then what we're going to do is that we are trying to enhance the Copilot prompt and we'll be able to use it. So you don't need most of the cases you may not need to create it from the scratch. So the first step is that you can go into the existing repository, go to the samples, and use it over here. All right. Let's now jump into the demo. I'm a person who does not like PowerPoint because I'm pathetic in creating the deck. So let's quickly jump into the demo. All right. All right. So for getting the sample, so there is a great repository which has been created by the community team. It is basically created by the Microsoft teams, and the contribution is being done by the community. So to get that, you can refer this particular URL. Again, I'm sure Rashmita is going to post this URL in the chat. But again, this is the URL which you can type it out. So ak.ms pnp prompt back. Okay, so what happens is that the moment you type it in, it will take you to a GitHub repository. Now this is the repository which I am going to show you as a starting point. Now in this repository, you can go to the something called a samples folder. So samples folder has all the information related to the prompts which has been submitted by the community already. It could even relate it. There are It doesn't really be confined only to the M365. If you see on top, it has even the GitHub related Copilot. Just a second, let me just do a marker here. Yeah. So it can even have the GitHub related. It will even have the M365 related. So By seeing the prefix of that, you will typically get to know what kind of samples it is there. Again, if you go towards bottom, you can even see something related to the PPT, you can see something related to the whiteboard, and even you can see something related to the Word as well. Again, it doesn't just stop there. This sample library is getting expanded on a day-to-day basis, because there are a lot of amazing community folks who are submitting the samples into this repository, and that will help the larger community to use it. All right, so that's the whole idea of this repository. Again, I will, towards the end of the session, if time permits, probably I can show you how you can contribute it to this PNP prompt lab library. But again, for now, what we will do is that we will pick one of the samples from here, and we will run it against the existing copilot and see whether we're getting the needed result. All right, let's take an example. Like as I said in the beginning, what we're going to do is that I'm going to run, or I want to know about an existing meeting information. All right, just a second, not this one. All right, so here is a simple prompt which is there. So what I'm going to do from this particular prompt is that I want to ask the copilot to list down my meetings in the chronological order with the details, so that I'll be able to get the details about this one. All right, now what you see here is that if you understand, or if you think that this is a prompt which is relevant for you, or this is related to your use case, what you can do is that you can go inside the sample. There is something called a prompt section which is there. You can copy this one. Then what you can do is that you can go to the Copilot. Now this is a tenant where I have my Copilot enabled over here. I have you can see that this is Copilot over here. So let's just plug in that particular message over here. All right, you can see that you are my personal secretary for meetings and agenda. Map out my upcoming meetings for 3 days that are part of the series. Arrange them in chronologically. Okay, so that's what, nothing crazy, just simple thing. All right, I'll just type it in. Let's hope the Copilot responds. Well, I did not get any. So let's modify it, because I don't think I have a meeting for the next 3 days. Let's do it for next 10 days. Okay. So this is how you modify the existing prompt, so that you'll be able to get the needed informations. Well, I did not get any. Now let's go to, which is weird. Just a second. Let's go to another meeting. And what we will do is, okay, let's do another prompt. Okay. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to show me the list of meetings for the next week, along with my RSVP status, whether I have accepted the meeting or not. So it shows it in a table, who has initiated it, who are the attendees of the meetings as well. It's a simple prompt, nothing crazy. Okay, let's do it over here. Let's go to the new chat and do it. Okay, let's put the chat details here, and let's do it. Okay, I think I don't have a meetings for this week, so probably I may have to modify it for the next week. Next week table. All right. Now you see here. So what I have done is that I have asked Copilot to show me the list of meetings for the next week, along with the meeting details. When I say the meeting details, it includes the time of the meeting, what is the subject line, who has initiated the meetings, and the list of attendees as well. Along with that, I also have asked for giving me the RSVP status as well. So the advantage is that with this approach, we will get to know whether I have already responded to this meeting or not. Now, had I been responded to this meeting, it would show the RSVP status as green so that I know that I have already responded to the meetings. Now, you see this particular one. It will even give the initiated by, who has initiated the meeting, which team has initiated meeting, which user has initiated the meetings as well. Along with that, towards the bottom, what you can see is that it even tell the conflicts as well. You can see that, please note that the meeting, this particular meeting conflicts with another meeting. Now with this approach, the advantage is that you'll be able to get a proper details on the meetings which are going to get conflicted in the next week, and you can give the RSVP status accordingly. I mean, needless to say, you can even click on this particular one. Let me just click on this particular this thing, and I can even give the RSVP status accordingly. So the advantage is that you can directly take the action from here rather than going back to the Outlook, do the modifications and everything. You can go to the chat, you can go to the Copilot, click the details over here. Say, for example, I can go to the existing meetings. Yeah. All right. Now let me just do a bit of tweaking to this to this prompt. Okay. Say, for example, I don't need these kind of informations. I don't need the complete informations. All I'm going to give is that, say, let's say some of the limited informations. I don't need this much detailed information. So let me do a bit of modifications here. Next, let's say I'm going to ask for 2 weeks in a table. Okay, table should contain. I hope you're able to see this. This font may look a bit. Let me try to zoom it in a bit. Yeah. All right. Table should contain the following information which is initiated by a list of invitees. Let's say I don't want the list of invitees because it may look a big huge, and I'll give the RSVP status as well. All right. Well, that's weird. Well, at times you may have to try around various combinations to get the details. Now you see this when we got the informations. All right. Now you see it has basically given the informations only which you have tapped into the prompt for. So this is how you get a base prompt from the existing library. You do the needed modifications, do the necessary tweaking, and can work on top of your prompts as well. So I did not create it from the scratch. What I did is that I went into the library, I copied the prompt and did the modifications. Now let me just take another a prompt, for example. Again, like as I said, let's take another meeting related ones. All right. Let's see whether this is something which is interesting. Well, this does not work because this applies only to the meetings which I have attended to. Just a second. All right. Okay. So here's another prompt. What it is going to do is that what it does show, it is also something similar to that. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to give a different prompt, which is where I want to list out the meetings which is coming under my time zone. Now the advantage is that only for those meetings only I will have to make a necessary modifications and everything. So that's the whole idea of this prompt. All right. Say for example, let me just copy this one. Let me just copy this one. Again, I'm just going to create a new chat. I don't want to put it in the existing chat as well. And I'm going to enter it here. Now you see only these two are the meetings which is going under that. Again, that those what you see, it is a dummy meeting, dummy invite which I've created, because I don't think anyone would ever give the shower block in their calendar. But again, these are just for the testing purpose. But so this is how you can give the modified prompt. Now let me just give a modifications to the timing which is there. Now what this Copilot does is that based on my profile, it will identify my time zone. That is one thing. Second thing is that it will also check what are the meetings which is falling under that. So the biggest advantage is that you as a person, you don't need to even do the conversion of the time zone and everything. All you do is that you as a user, all you do is that you ask the question to the Copilot with the right prompt. I mean, whether my time zone is falling on the certain time period, whether you want to get the meeting invite for the next 2 weeks and everything. The rest will be done by the Copilot. All right, now let me just do the modifications here. Let's make it a bit crazy. Say, for example, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. to, let's say, 11:30 p.m. All right, SMT. All right, let's do this. This is interesting. It seems there are no meetings which is available. Let me do a bit of modifications again. Let's just say, for example, see 11:30 p.m. All right. Now you see, all you did is that you did a modifications for the time, and based on the time zone, the Copilot is going to give you the needed informations. Okay, so that's how I do that. Now I'll just keep a bit of pause here, and we'll ask for I'll open up for any kind of questions in between. Uh, Rashmita, do I have any questions which needs to be answered in between before I go to the next section?
No.
All right, all right, no problem. Uh, all right, so that's what we did. So what we typically do is that you can go to the samples, go to any of these existing details, and that's how you do that. Now let me just do anything else as well. All right, say for example, okay, find, analyze the details from my people leaders. Okay, so, for example, this specific prompt, what it does is that it will it will get the information which has been it'll get the emails which has been sent by the manager. Now let's assume that you want to get the emails which has been sent by a certain person. All right, what you do is that. So what you do is that initially I just want to copy this particular prompt. Okay, let me quickly switch it to the Copilot. Let's try it a new chat. Okay, can you analyze my inbox? When you analyze my inbox, find any emails from my manager or their manager that required my response or contain any action. Now, instead of my manager, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to, from say Albert Einstein, because my tenant is pretty weird. It has Albert Einstein, it has APJ Abdul Kalam, it has Mary Curie, it has a variety of people in my tenant. Well, we can do that, right? Let's say Mary Curie. Okay, let's see. I think I don't have any emails from Albert Einstein. Well, it seems I don't have any email from Albert Einstein. Let's assume that you want to get any email from, let's say, Vesa, who is the PNP lead for the M365 section, because this is one of the tenant where I get the informations about the product group emails and everything. So I just want to understand whether Vesa has sent any email for me or not. So I'll just copy this prompt again. Mails from because I vaguely remember there was an email from Vesa. Right. All right. Now you see here. Now the moment you give these information, so what I did is that I did a very simple thing. I copied one of the prompt from that, and I just gave the informations over here. So instead of getting the details from my manager, what I did is that I replaced it with one of the user whom I need the information from, which is Vesa, and I gave the details. Now along with that, I gave all these informations. I got the information from I got the email details from Vesa UN, which has been sent into this one. So these are all the emails which have been received from the email. So this is the how you can, what you can do is that you can quickly do a search within your email box with a simple natural language. Now the advantage of this approach is that yes, you can always go back to the Outlook and do the filters, but the challenge over there is that if you want to do a combination of the search, let's say if you want to get a particular email sent about, let's say, Copilot, which has been sent by a certain user, these kind of combinations, if you want to do a search in the classical, it will be a very difficult. With Copilot, you can quickly do a search and will be able to get the informations as well. And along with that, it even give you a consolidated details. It just summarizes the information over here, and you can even open that as well directly from here. So if you can click on that, it will give you the details over here. Excuse me. So that's how you go to the Copilot prompt and will get the informations. Let me also try to do something else as well by going to the Copilot prompt. I see that there are a couple of questions which I'm getting. Probably I will try to answer it. I see that there is one question which has been asked by one user that okay, when you try to type it in the prompt in your Copilot chat, you're not getting the information. Yes, I do understand that at times Copilot will not be able to get the details. The reason is because, see, what the Copilot is trying to retrieve is the information which has been indexed already. So imagine if the information is not indexed, even though you have the emails directly and the information is not indexed, then there's a high chance that Copilot will not be able to give you the information. So the one way to check that is that do a combination search, do various combinations by giving various information, give more descriptive information to try to get the information. So that is one way to do that, because typically Copilot do have access to your meeting information, because when I say it does in information, because it is using the graph API under your delegated permission. So it is not going to have any information breach. Under the covers, it is using your details. So but if there is a chance that you're not getting information, one possibility could be is because it is not indexed. So wait for some time, try to do a combination search, and that's what you do that. So another question which I see is that how do we integrate Copilot into the Teams app? Well, there are multiple ways to integrate Copilot into the Teams tab. So there is something called an extension which we built into the Copilot. So what you do is that you typically build an extension. It is called a messaging extension in the Teams perspective. So what you do is that you there's something called Teams Toolkit VS Code extension through which you will be able to create a messaging extension. So what it does is that it works as a Copilot plugin. And I'm not going into the details here. There are a lot of documentations available. Probably end of the session, I can give you the link of this one. But technically how it works is that, so what you see here, you can see here, if you click on here, there are multiple plugins which you can give here. Similarly, if you build a plugin which is like a messaging extension, it will start show up over here. Now, what you do in that is that you'll be able to have an API consumption defined over there. When I say API consumptions, let's say you want to get the information from, let's say, ServiceNow. So what you do is that within your messaging extension, you give all the API connection, get the needed information from the ServiceNow. So what the Copilot does is that your API will give back the response back to the Copilot, and the Copilot, using the context information, will give you the details. That's how you build the extension points. That is one way of doing it. Another way is that you can even build an extension using Copilot Studio, or is even using a Procode way. Procode way is the messaging extension way. So this is how you integrate into a you extend the Copilot into the Teams one. All right. Now, one question is that this won't be a vulnerability or a security concern if AI comes to know of official meetings. Well, it is not, right? See, the Copilot inherently does not know about your information. So what the Copilot is going to do, when I say the Copilot, the LLM is not going to know about your information. So what under the covers it is happening is that when you ask a question to this Copilot, okay, the Copilot, what it does is that initially it will, using the graph API, it will get the needed informations. Let's say in our case, the meetings information. So your meeting informations will be retrieved using the graph API. Then these context information will be sent to the LLM, which is your, under the covers, it is using Azure OpenAI, and that LLM will consolidate, or rather make sense of this information, and will be able to give you back. So the LLM is not going to read your information. It is not going to use it for learning it. All it does is that you give the context information, you give the basically you give the context information to the Azure OpenAI, and the LLM is going to give back the response. And that's how it will be done. Okay, so answering your question, it is not, because see, it is using the graph API which already have your access. Again, you as a user, so when you ask the Copilot, let's say I want the email information about, let's say, other user, you Copilot will not be able to give you, because you as a user will not have access to other person's email box. So in turn, you Copilot will not be able to get it. Only your emails, only your meetings is what Copilot is going to get it. Now, can you share the prompt access link? Yes, I think it is already there in the description of this meeting invite. Otherwise, all the links I have already in the PowerPoint deck, which I can share it across. Okay. Now, there's another question, which is prompting will be internal to organization, or is it taken to outside the network? No. So if I understand correctly, if you give in the prompt, will it be taken outside the network? Is that my understanding? Assuming if that is my understanding, no, your prompt will not be taken outside your network. It will only be part of your prompt history. So if you ask certain questions, if you ask the prompt, it will not be taken outside, meaning this prompt will not be used, or this information will not be used to make the LLM learn. So it's basically, it is not used to learn the, or rather teach the LLM. It will be confined only to your enterprise. All right, that's how it works. I think I have answered the questions which is already available over here. Now, let me just quickly jump back into the Copilot samples here. Let me just do one more sample, and then probably what I will do is that I'll just tell you how you can contribute to this prompt library, so that the larger community will be able to use it. All right, let's see, let me see this one, let me see. Mm, okay, this is about the meeting action prompt. Let me see. Yeah. Well, let's assume that I want to create a meeting with one of the users, but depending on his time zone. So what I will do is that I will just copy this prompt. So there is one known issue over here, because whenever you're trying to get the meeting information of other user using Copilot, at times Copilot will get hallucinated, meaning it will try to make out something. So I'm not going into the details, the reasoning for that. There is an amazing details blog post which is written over here by one of the community members, where he has explained over here. But for now, if you want to get, let's say, if you quickly want to schedule a meeting with one of your colleague or with your manager, what you can do is that you can quickly plug in that prompt into the Copilot chat, and you'll be able to get the information. So let me just quickly copy this prompt, go to the Copilot chat. All right, I just put it here. Okay, they're working out. So for example, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to give slash, and I'm going to give, let's say, Einstein. Okay, I don't want to have the meeting tomorrow. Meeting on, let's say, 9th September. 9th September. And September, that aligns with the representatives. Okay, so what we're going to do here is that the user whom I am going to have a meeting with, he works in a different time zone, and I work in a different time zone. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to ask the Copilot to give up suitable time available for me. Okay, let's see if it gets the details. Now you see here. So what it does is that initially Copilot give me the details about my current details, meaning these are the meetings which I already have it. Okay. Now what it does towards end is that it also gives the details about who is Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein is a lead scientist. Yes, Copilot does not need to know that. But again, Albert Einstein is a user who is part of my tenant. So you don't need to get confused with the actual Albert Einstein. Again, my tenant, like I said, it's a crazy tenant. It has the users from across the globe. So what it does is that it will give you the details. Now towards the bottom, what you do is that now your, depending on your availability schedule, what it does is that it will give you the probable meeting time which you can set it depending on his or her time zone. So Copilot will check the time zone between both the users, whichever time zone which he actually works on. Depending on that, the Copilot will give you a probable meeting slot. So the advantage is that with this approach, you necessarily need to go to the, let's say, meeting in the availability calendar and do all those things. You ask the Copilot, depending on his or her meeting, it will give back the response. So that's how you quickly can schedule a meeting with any of these users who is part of the your tenant. So this is how you can do that. So similarly, if you want to have for any other user on a different time for a specific time period, that also could do that. So the whole idea is that you don't need to, most of the times you may not need to create it from the scratch. You can go to the library, copy one of the prompt, and then work on top of that. So with this approach, you can actually create a powerful prompts which is suitable for your use case. All right. Now let me see the last things. Anything else which would be interesting to you? So along with that, it also has some of the prompts related to, let's say, Word or Whiteboard or PPT or anything else. Even it has also even have the GitHub as well. Let's say if you are a developer, if you have someone who is passionate about developer, what you can do is that you know that Copilot, GitHub Copilot is also something which is super handy if you are using it. If you have not used it, it is an amazing tool. It is an amazing peer programmer where you can easily, build the code by just giving the instructions. Again, you have to take it with a pinch of salt. You have to review it before you actually do it. So, but again, it will do heavy forklifting for you. Probably 60 to 70% would be done by the GitHub Copilot, and rest only you will have to do that. All right. Now, in this scenarios, what it does is that uh, so you give the prompt that, okay, I need to get the response of an adaptive cut in an adaptive cut with proper details. Let's say I give the prompt that, okay, create an adaptive cut to show two input fields, one for text and one for drop down, and two buttons and save. So what it does is that the moment you give it to the GitHub Copilot, it'll give it for you. Again, I'm not showing it in the GitHub Copilot. You can try it out yourself and you'll be able to get to know about this. All right. So again, it doesn't just is confined to the M365 Copilot. It even has the samples of the GitHub Copilots and everything. I'm not going into the one by one for all the samples. There are also amazing prompts which has been created, super creative prompts which has been created by the end users, and you can try using that. All right. Now imagine if you are someone who has been using the prompts, which you are pretty much well versed with the prompt, and you want to show it to the larger people, because this is one of the ways where you can help the larger team, that if you have an amazing prompt, you put this prompt over here so that other community will be able to use it. Now this particular library what I'm showing is open to contributions as well. Let's say if you have someone who has an amazing prompt, please feel free to open a pull request over here, and the maintenance of this repository will approve it. All right. Now, so how do you do a contribution? Again, like as I said, the shortcode for this one is aka.ms pnp-prompt-bank. So that's the short URL for this one. Let me just put it in this chat also. So the prompt library short URL is this one, what you see it in the address bar. So the moment if you type it over here, it will take you directly over here. And again, if you go here, there is something called a contribution guidelines which you have given over here. You can create an issue. What it does is that if you create an issue with the proper details, when I say the proper details, let's assume that you already have a prompt which is related to, let's say, Word or PowerPoint or anything else, let's say, be it in the meeting invite and everything. What you can do is that you can copy that prompt and create that as an issue over here. So what it does is that the maintainers will review it and will approve this pull request over here. So with this approach, what you can do is that you are basically helping the larger community, and your prompt is going to get used by the others. That is one thing. The second thing is that if you contribute into this particular library, you're going to get a badge from the PNP team, a shiny, beautiful badge from the PNP team for giving the contributions, where you can flaunt it in your LinkedIn or in your resume or whatever. So with this way, you're helping the community. Along with that, you're also getting benefited with a badge. So if you guys have an amazing prompt with you, please feel free to create a issue over here. And if you're comfortable with creating the pull request and everything, please do so, and the maintainers will review it and approve it, so that this will be available for consumption by other users as well. All right. Well, let me just quickly switch back to the presentation back. Okay, so I think that more or less concludes today's session. Again, I don't want to make it super complicated session. It has to be a super simple session. The whole idea of this today's session is to make yourself aware of the prompt lab, which is already there, where you can go refer the existing prompt, work your prompt on top of that, or create it all totally all together and everything. So these are some of the references which we are giving over here for creating the prompt lab. How do you create an effective prompts and everything? And using this, you'll be able to make your Copilot life easier. All right. Again, if you feel if you have any doubts or questions or anything, please feel free to connect with me. I'll be more than happy to help you. I think the team has already posted the social handle for everything. I'll be more than happy to answer any kind of questions or queries which you may have. Do we have any other questions which is there in queue, Rashmika, which you need to add?
No, I think we are good, Arjun, for today. So, yeah, like Arjun already said, folks, if you have any further question, please reach out to him. Um and his handles are already there in the chat section. So, thank you so much, Arjun, for hosting an amazing session. And thank you all for joining us today. Please visit Microsoft Reactor website for more upcoming sessions. Feel free to use the Learn module link, which is there on the screen. This will give you access to take your learning further. Thank you all once again, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.